All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Karibu sana daktari. We are happy to again to have you today. And thank you so much for finding again another time to join us in this conversation. We really appreciate your time, and everybody here is ready to listen of what you want to say today. And as we start our conversation again today, I want to pose a question. I want to pose a question to you as you start giving your views on the same. That I believe when I know yesterday when we announced this space. Um, the president called conference to distract all this the conversation that we have with Kenyans. Uh, what is your view? What is your 1 cent view of his interview? And then we go to the topic of today, that tomorrow's demonstration. Thank you so much, Dr. Karibu sana.
Oh, good evening, everyone, and good
Good evening.
afternoon for people who are in other time zones. Like yesterday, we have to express our condolences and empathy with those who have been abducted, those who have been tortured, some have been maimed, and of course, the heroes whom they have killed. We have to always remember them by name, and I believe that next time we'll have their names um, uh, basically read out so that we actually always honor them. I know that Rex is one of the people that have been honored, but there are a lot of people that have lost their lives. And I think it is important, whether they were participating in the protest or not, that we honor them. The little boy who was shot. Uh,
Daktari, maybe just an interruption. There's a few names that we have. I can read them out
yeah,
and then
go
you
ahead.
proceed. so so number one on the list is the doctor who was actually giving out medical services during demonstration, Dr. Margaret Oyuga. May her soul rest in peace. We have Rex Kanyeki Masai. May his soul rest in peace. We have Frank Okot, another legend. We have Nick Adams, another martyr. We have Eric Njeru, another hero. We have David Chege, Ian Kea, Belinda Chieng, Edwin Otieno, Eric Otieno, Eric Shieni, Bisley Kamau, Erickson Mutisia, Credo Oyaro, 17 years old, Emmanuel Tata, and then Ibrahim Kamau Wanjiko. This was a list that was out before the young boy was shot. Is it 8 times or 12 times? The one that the president thinks she's still alive. She's in school. I guess today she went to school, and tomorrow she'll also join us in the maandamano in Nairobi and the various sides parts of the country. So, Daktari,
So
continue. Thank you for the
thank
list.
you, Kinsman. Let me start by saying we should stop calling Ruto president. Part of the struggle is the use of language. If we don't revolutionize our language, demystify and delegitimize oppressors, we are giving them power over us. It has to start with how we think and how we use language. Ruto lost legitimacy by the manner in which he has handled the protests. Not only did he hire goons, people who were not even police officers, and gave them guns to target protesters who are unarmed and peaceful and cause havoc in the country in all areas of Kenya. He then has gone on national TV many times and referred to them as criminals, the victims as criminals. So yesterday, what you saw, legitimacy. He then declared to all Kenyans that he doesn't get it. He's not just alienated from Kenyans, He's not just completely cold-blooded and heartless. He wants to tell Kenyans that he's proud of his killers, the snipers that they stationed in parliament and all other areas, the people who are shooting aimlessly into the crowds. He's basically daring the country, utadu. What are you going to do? And that is why tomorrow and any other day subsequent, the country must show Ruto that we own Kenya, that he doesn't own us, that having voted for him, and by the way, he did not even win the majority of Kenyans. He won the majority of the votes, 50 plus 1, according to the IBC. That does not give you ownership over a people. The fact that you supported me does not give me power over you forever. It doesn't mean that if I turn around and abuse you, if I turn around and steal from you, if I turn around and brutalize you or brutalize your family, if I devalue your values, then you still support me. No, there is no such thing. In a democracy, we must earn support every single day. And Ruto that no longer has our support. He went on national TV in order to turn away viewers from our space, our X space, and basically refused to answer every single question that was given to him. And then turn around and denied things that are so obvious that you would wonder, is this man normal? It is no longer just a question of Ruto is cold-blooded. Ruto seems to be convinced that he's God Almighty, that there is nothing we can do to him. And so we have to get our country back. I believe, and I've said this many times, that we have to be focused. These are the things people are saying, these are the things people are doing, demanding, oh, where are you? Be in the forefront, blah, blah, blah. These are NIS and Ruto's tricks. Because it doesn't really matter where we are. Our brother who spoke from Zimbabwe is in Zimbabwe, but he's giving us inspiration. He's standing with us in solidarity. Our struggle is being watched everywhere. Our struggle is giving inspiration to everybody. And we can't fail ourselves. Because what happens when we fail? Then we give Ruto basically authority and power to pick each one of you and then assassinate, disappear, torture, maim, or force into exile. So this is a collective struggle. I just want to urge everyone that we have to be united in the struggle. Because of course, if we are divided, he's going to win over us. And as I said yesterday, and I continue to say, this is an intergenerational struggle, even if led by Gen Zs and the millennials. The issues we are dealing with, the issues of impunity, the issues of corruption, the issues of abuse of power, the issues of strangulation of all institutions of governance, these are not issues that affect one generation. So the moment we allow the message that everybody else should keep quiet, that only Gen Z should speak, that the only people that are feeling the pinch is a generation called Gen Zs, we are losing it. Because even Generation Alpha, the boy who was killed in Rongai, is not a Gen Z. The other boy that was shot 8 times is not a Gen Z. And some of them were not even in the demonstration. You will be victimized whether you are there or not. A tyrannical state does not distinguish between generations. And we learned this when we were growing up. Some of us have been in this struggle since we were teenagers too, like myself. So and we never stopped struggling, regardless of the contradictions in the struggle. So that's all I want to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for that. And I see many people are joining the conversation. Thank you so much. And make 1 million strong tomorrow, and for securing our future or secure the country. That's the way to go. Kumbukeni.
10,
Yeah.
10 million, 10 million, my brother.
10 million,
10
10
million.
million. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Daktari. Kumbukeni, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Miguna, honoring all who have lost their lives. I just want to emphasize on that point that you made, and it's a great point. I have been insisting, speaking on this need to ensure we don't go along with colonial language. Colonial language is very good at keeping us in boxes so that it can best control us. So they decide they're going to call us Gen Z so that they can best control us and control the narrative. We must refuse that. I agree with you. And this is a problem of Kenyans. I know my mother is suffering. When I was in Kenya, I was suffering to put food on the table. My brothers are suffering. My sisters are suffering. The children are suffering. So this is not just a Gen Z issue. The Gen Z, and even when you look at the protests, it wasn't just Gen Z on the streets. So this is something, being someone who's been in the West and seen and worked actually in their governments and seen how they operate, this is something they're very good on and very big on. They make sure they control the narrative, and we must make sure that we don't allow them to do so. Asante.
Thank you.
And maybe Hillary Kidogo, and maybe just to echo on the words of Daktari. Daktari, first of all, thank you so much for your contribution. The beauty with you is that you are eloquent enough, even if you putting us into dangerous spaces, we think like we are going into safe places. So your eloquence is something that we are admiring, and it is giving us energy. Saizi, we need all the energy that we can get, because the person that we are dealing with, remember, he's most important. And I want to emphasize on this. Remember, the people that voted for this president were brick and mortar. Parliament mmechoma kwa ofisi ya Sakaja, dimple zake zitakaa wapi? CJ ana ofisi. Kumbukeni, this man was voted in by brick and mortar. So tomorrow he will be dealing with robots. So we need all the energy that we can get. Daktari, thank you. Kesho tunatokea. All of us will be there in numbers. 10 million strong. 10 million. Our strength is on the numbers. Our strength is on the disorganization. That is the biggest organization in Africa. Thank you for the brothers that are supporting us from diaspora, from other parts of the continent. Thank you so much. And everyone, please keep the hashtag going. Keep it alive. Like if you can, let's follow each other. Pale pia kwa nini, and there's a post I've put for Latif. Please retweet, like it, so that even when such kind of people get an opportunity to speak to Kenyans, they feel that we are behind them. Ruto should be feeling alone. We need to seclude this person. We need to put him in a corner and put him there forever and ever as Iwai Toka. We are tired. We are tired, man. So next speaker,
Thank you.
please.
Brief, go ahead. Brief, go ahead. Maj, I see you. Everybody. Yep. We have a lot of requests, guys. So yeah, go ahead, brief.
Asante sana. Yes, yes, I want to reiterate that point about us creating and sticking to our own narratives, using our own language. We are Africans, we are Kenyans. Let's continue to perpetuate our narratives. Let's go back to our roots in search of everything, including the solutions. Daktari, I love the fact that you point out correctly, very accurately, that this is not a new fight. We have been fighting this fight because in reality, our economy, our systems of government have never worked for us. They've never worked for us Kenyans. We were bequeathed colonial systems that were meant to work for the colonizer. And the only thing that the colonizer did is turn it over to the African elites, Mzungus in black skin, to be the guardians of the spoils of colonialism. I'll just go real quick into Machiavelli's four-point blueprint of how you demoralize and conquer and colonize a people. It's a very thin book, by the way, The Prince by Machiavelli. It's a very thin book. Everybody in here should read it because it shows you who we are dealing with in the form of Ruto. So in the blueprint, it has 4 stages. The first one is you go in with your armies and administrators, and you demoralize the population by violence and aggression. The second stage is you create an elite class. You show them that if they are brutal, if they speak English like you or whatever language like you, and they behave like you, they too can get a taste of the privilege. The third one is 1960s, 1956 Ghana, 1963 Kenya, where you hand over political control to the elite class. And the fourth stage is the most lucrative because after they withdraw their security forces and their administrators, now all they do is collect on the spoils of colonialism using the elite class that they put in place. And that's what we have. We have an elite class that are the custodians, the guardians of colonialism. So Ruto just happens to be the very unfortunate one who is sitting being the custodian. He had a choice. He had a choice not to be the custodian, and we are giving him that choice today. As Kenyans, we are saying, are you going to serve us, or are you going to continue to serve the neoliberal colonialist policies that you have been bequeathed? And again, this is not new. It's been since independence, or so-called independence, quote unquote, because we've never been independent. We are still under colonialism. We are the fourth stage of colonialism. We are not even in neocolonialism yet. Maybe if we beat this economic colonialism, maybe they will introduce a new colonialism that we can at that point call neocolonialism. But at this point, we are still in colonialism. So, and Kenyans are very hungry because we've got a glimpse of what it might look like if we actually had a leader who had our interests. I think we all agree, or most of us Kenyans agree, that the Kibaki presidency showed us that we had the capacity to govern ourselves, to govern for Kenya, by Kenyans, with the interests of Kenyans. The fact that within one term, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, within the first term, Kenya was living within our means, living off the proceeds of our taxation, and we were getting services for the taxation. By the way, we must resist Western narratives that try to paint this as purely, quite simply, they reduce it to an anti-tax movement. We are not an anti-tax movement. What we are is an anti-imperialist, anti-neoliberal movement. We are protesting against regressive taxation. What we want is progressive taxation, where the people at the bottom of the economic ladder are not being overly burdened. They are not being overburdened with the burden of taxation. We ensure that the people at the bottom of the economic ladder are looked after, that corporations, especially foreign corporations, especially international organizations, now Ameja Kenya. Kenya is now the #1 destination of venture capital. And every single venture capitalist firm in Kenya is run by Wazungus, by foreigners, by Americans. They are coming, they are getting the funds. These funds look like they are coming to Kenyans. These same venture capitalists, they are coming, they are stealing the idea of Kenyans. Then they are turning around and killing, bankrupting those companies, cashing out, going to buy properties in Kileleshwa, in Mombasa, in Diani, in Zanzibar. So raising the prices of our homes at the same of our properties at the same time as they are stealing from us, they are stealing our ideas. And by the way, they are stealing our ideas and then killing them, because the only way you can actually cash out is if you bankrupt the company after you've already stolen and patented the ideas. So we have to connect the dots. So William Ruto had a choice to be a leader for Kenya, for Kenyans. He has chosen to be a leader who is here to implement IMF policies that overburden, again, the poor, that protect, in particular, Western, European, and American corporations, but foreign corporations in general, foreigners, at the expense of Kenyans. So he needs to make a choice. He needs to be, and Kenyans are giving all of our leadership this choice. You need to be more afraid of us and you need to show us that you're more afraid of us, because you need to recognize either ni sisi tumekuweka hapo, we've put you into power, ama ni brick and mortar ambayo imekuweka hapo. If you believe it's brick and mortar, fine, continue serving brick and mortar and serving the interests of the IMF and the World Bank and of BlackRock. This is why the guy who came in preaching bottom up, the very first executive order, he couldn't even wait for legislation. The very first executive order he signed was to privatize our most highly performing parastatals. Why? To hand them over to BlackRock. BlackRock is now very proudly coming to Kenya to invest, or so-called quote unquote invest, to steal. Let's be very accurate. So, so when our parastatals are privatized, kila kitu imeenda. Starting with, by the way, when we are making sure that Ruto is gone, can we also make sure, even before Ruto, that Devin Day is gone? And by the way, there's a process of removing the president, and I don't know exactly what it is. I will admit that, Daktari, you are the lawyer here, but there is one thing, there is a path that is very clear. We need to first start removing the MPs, his supporters, the ones around him, because we can recall our members of parliament. And I can't believe how easy it is. I'm sure you've all seen that video. There's a website where you go, you start the petition for the, you only need something apparently very small, like 50,000, I believe, signatures to recall your member of parliament. So we need to start by those, because once we have recalled enough MPs, this guy is weak. He can be impeached. Right now, he cannot be impeached because he has the majority in parliament, even though right now, wanaogopa kutembelewa. So let's start with that process, because that is within reach. Let me yield there and hear from other people. Asanteni sana. Good to see you, Maj. Good to see everybody else. Kumbukeni. Lovely to see you there. And Dr. Miguna, so glad to hear you, and so honored to be sharing this space with you. Thank you, Wanjiro, for inviting me. And I'm just so gratified that we're having this conversation.
I think Daktari wants to answer you. Daktari, I see your mic is open. Please, if you do
Yes, thank you very much. We were on this space for 3 hours yesterday, and I actually posted a summary of the main points that we discussed. And I believe the general consensus, if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, is that we are way past what our friend, brother was saying. We are way past that. We are way past recalling the MPs. We are way past signing petitions. We are way past impeachment motions. We are on the streets. And a lot of our people have already been murdered by Ruto. So it's not a question of process. The process that we have now is a popular revolutionary process on the streets everywhere in the Republic of Kenya. We are in all villages, we are in all towns, we are in all cities, and people are calling for Ruto to go. This is a constitutional process. As I explained yesterday, under Clause 1 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the sovereignty of the people, the power to constitute ourselves into a state, into a government, vests or belongs to the people. That's Clause 1 of the Constitution. That's where it is. You can choose to govern yourselves through your elected representatives, or you can do so yourselves directly when your elected representatives or quote unquote governors have failed, which is what happened more than 2 weeks ago. Ruto failed. Ruto registered to the people that he failed by forcing Finance Bill 2024 on us, even though Kenyans had told him in petition after petition, protest after protest, and engagement after engagement, that he needed to withdraw it entirely so that he could bring a legislation or bill that was acceptable to the people. He refused. He said, I'm going to do it whether you like it or not. And then he forced his MPs, who are basically robots, to pass it in parliament. And then he was going to sign it had the people not taken over parliament and all spaces in Kenya. In other words, if we don't do what we did last week, we have lost it. We cannot change course and go back and start the process all over again. He occupies and controls the legislature. He controls the National Assembly. He controls the Senate. He controls the county assemblies. He controls the governors who are robots, headed by Anne Waiguru, the NYS thief. He controls the media largely, except for the brave journalists that you saw yesterday, but the institutions of the media he controls. He controls the judiciary. So which means that he has blocked all democratic routes for people to be able to bring him to account. We can't take it to, you can't take him to court and win. You can't take him to the National Assembly through any impeachment legislation and win. So where is the space that you can engage William Ruto and be able to tell him that we are your bosses, you must do what we say? It's only in the public square. It's only on the streets. It's only in the cities. It's only in the towns. It's only in the villages. And that's where we must occupy tomorrow, with 10 million, or from a million going up, so that he understands that these people don't want me. I throw in the towel and we constitute what I've already outlined yesterday, or whatever it is that people believe unanimously is the good process, so that we can have fresh elections. That is entirely constitutional. And it has happened like that throughout history in many, many countries, which I don't have to list today. So let's not go back. Let's not give William Ruto respite, a breathing space. Let's move forward.
Thank you, Dr. for that. Before the next speaker comes in, I want to read for you a poem from Martin Luther King, Nathan Nimola, born in 1892 up to 1892, and then he died in 1984. He said, first they came for the communist, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So next speaker, please.
Hello, guys. Can be allowed to speak something. First, I have to say condolences to all.
Wait. Okay. Binadam, we don't work here that way. You carry up your hand, because all these people will start to open the mic, then how it will be. So it is important when we see your hands up. That is very key. Maj, but Binadam, go ahead before Maj, and then Tomboy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, Binadam, wait. Tomboya was ahead of you. Please, just be patient. Raise your hand, and then you'll be given the mic. Let's be orderly, please. Table manners. So Tomboya, yes.
Hello, Kenyans. Good evening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I really wanted to reiterate on the point that the five-star general, Dr. Miguna has explained, but now I'll be very brief. We should be very specific, as he has always said. Let us know what we want and go for it. We are actually past anything constitutional and legal process. let us know that anything that requires to go back to consider a procedure of constitutionalism is not for us right now. Let us be on the street and let us go by Ruto must go now. Ruto must go, Ruto must go, Ruto must go. After having that as a word, then let us go by action. Let us occupy the streets. By this time, we should not necessarily be reminding us many things, the negatives and any other thing. We should now be talking about which strategies are we employing on the streets. If we say we remove the picture of Rutos on our businesses, let that be the strategy. If we say we occupy the specific office, let that be the strategy. Let us go by action, because this action is what will make him come out. Going by saying that we must recall MPs first before Ruto has gone, that one will just continue taking us into circles. Let us focus on Ruto. As the 5-star general said, let us avoid Weston. Let us avoid his businesses. Let us be specific, and we are going to achieve it. This is a spirit that is now running with us. It is a spirit. Let us go by this spirit. Thank you. I don't want to say much. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And for the next speaker who is coming in, please, if you voted in Ruto as your president, remember and don't forget that first of all of you guys who are in here, you are criminals. You never voted for him. What voted for him is the 2.6 billion worth of properties that you've spoiled. Brick and mortar made our president the man he is today. So please, Bin Adam, go.
Okay, thank you so much. And I would like to start by condolences to all the fallen heroes. We're still together in love and in spirit. What I would like to say here is, after watching the interview, you could clearly see that this guy is still a liar and a person who don't want to admit to the mistakes. He doesn't have the empathy. He doesn't feel how it feels to lose someone you know, someone close to you. So when I watched him and he pretends to be following up online, and the only defense he could say, the BBC reported there was no massacre. So it tells you that this guy comes online, but he looks for those loopholes like yesterday. So what I would like to say is, the cause is already on and we can't back, because for us to start regrouping again, if we stop this, it will be very difficult. But one issue I have personally is this. Like we say, Maandamano, it's every Tuesday and every Thursday. And I think we are giving them a good time to regroup and replan and re-strategize. So that's just my opinion, so that others can try to look at my perspective. Because imagine, since there was Maandamano last Thursday until tomorrow, these people have now good energy. The police have good energy to come to streets tomorrow. But if we make it consistent, like almost every day, we will exhaust them, because we know very clearly that the ratio of a policeman to the citizens, it's 1 to maybe 300. So if we make it every day, we will be able to exhaust these policemen. They can't manage us. And then if we come, like we're saying, make it 10 million strong, we will exhaust all these departments of police and the